Welcome to the Health Revolution, the show that leads you to a life of vibrant well-being. In a world full of noisy health trends, we bring you clarity through a sea of fads. We reveal the science behind the strategies that truly work. We explore physical strength, emotional resilience, and mental mastery, the keys to an enriched life. See inspiring interviews with the champions who've conquered life's health challenges. Are you ready to unlock your potential to live with vitality and purpose? Then join the Health Revolution. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, health and fitness expert, speaker, and a mom who understands. Let's embark on this transformative quest together. If you want to change the game, it all starts now. Meet Connie Warden. She's a seasoned mind-body practitioner with a master's in East Asian medicine and over 20 years of experience teaching yoga and mindfulness. But her latest work flips the script. As the author of Speeding to Compassion, Life Lessons and Humor on the Highroad, Connie pulls wisdom from the one place most of us lose our cool, behind the wheel. This is a hilarious, thought-provoking ride through our emotional reflexes, reactivity, and the unconscious habits that show up when we drive, but are really driving us everywhere in life. From stoplights to self-awareness, today we will learn what road rage can teach us about compassion.
So in the calm bag, it has GABA, theanine, and taurine. So theanine, which is B1, which is also in our B complex, but it also helps with the stress response levels. It also helps with the neurological transmitters in our brain. Combined with the GABA, and then you add taurine to it. Taurine is a non-essential amino acid in our body, but it's found in our heart, our brain, and our eyes. So in my personal opinion, it's very essential in our lives. But taurine has a calming effect as well. When I was battling all my AFib issues, I was taking high doses of taurine because that would help with my AFib. It would help with the palpitations I was having. And it also helped with the anxiety of having the palpitations because I knew what was going on. And so taurine helps a lot with that as well. So those three together create such a wonderful concoction that really calms people down.
Introducing Launchpad, the perfect partner to help you launch your dream project to the world. We know that time is of the essence, and we're here to help you make the most of it. With Launchpad, you'll get access to the most advanced digital tools and strategies to take your idea from a mere concept to a fully fledged success. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned pro, we have everything you need to make your mark in the world. Launchpad, your ultimate launch partner.
I want to talk about your book, and I have it here for our audience, Speeding to Compassion, Life Lessons and Humor for the Highroad. And first of all, when did you write the book, and what was the turning point where you thought, yes, with clarity, I'm going to put pen to pad, and I'm going to write a book about this?
So, actually, I spent 3 years trying to figure out what I needed to do to be a more mindful, kindful driver. And that book came out and was finally published last year in October. So I took 3 years to figure this out. And then I started writing about it, and so much self-doubt. but I kept writing about it. And I could see people like try not to roll their eyes when I would tell them what I was writing about. And then later they're going, this is good. And I'm like, yes. And the only reason that got published was because the editors were using the information for their driving habits. And I thought, you're really using it. Maybe people are gonna get something from it. And so that's why I went and published it.
And first of all, I got to say, I don't think I've ever seen, I love the fact that you've got the Dalai Lama here, and we're going to talk into it. We have a fun little tactic we do on the Health Revolution with authors, and that I always like to do a deep dive and poke around a little bit in the book. And I want to go over a few areas, how the different stories that you have in the book. You talk about, here's Connie squeezing the cactus. And you talk about here how you were driving with your husband, and you were husband was in the passenger seat, and then you said, I'm going to read a little excerpt for our audience. Then I'm waiting to turn right, but I have to wait for a young woman who has a cane and is slowly limping to the other side of the street. And this was regarding a time when you were not getting to your destination on time. And you thought, I have to wait. Quote, oh my God. If she would have just taken care of herself, I wouldn't have to be waiting here, quote unquote, I cry out. How uncompassionate is that? I even knew at that time that I was saying it, that it was a stupid and inconsiderate thing to think and speak. But then I started to laugh, and so did my husband. Stupid suffering at its finest. Talk a little bit about that. Do you remember that moment?
Oh, yes.
Squeezing the cactus?
So squeezing a cactus, I just want to make sure. So I like making the connection to road raging or just complaining about it to, if you've ever seen this, maybe you, but this is you, you're watching a football game and you are crazy mad at the referee who made a bad call. Yep. It's not going to do anything, but you're upset, you're red in the face, and all you did was squeeze the cactus. Now, would anybody squeeze a cactus? No, it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt me. So the only person that gets hurt by screaming at the TV or raging on the road is yourself.
But would you say that it feels good to just let it out if you're that frustrated?
I know. And that's what I did when I was like really upset. But again, I remember that day was pretty stressful, and I felt like I had a lot of time stress. And so that's what came out of my mouth, and yes, I laughed. So I hopefully balanced that out with the humor.
Yes. I want to take it to another page where here you were talking about the journey involved navigating highways. This is on page 52, by the way, that were what I call parking lots because we were hardly moving. It involved being assertive and hypervigilant to aggressive maneuvers, constant lane changes, and gridlock. And you said on every highway, including the exit and entrance ramp. You were talking about you were driving, it was an incident. You said, I made it to I-70, and guess what? It was another parking lot. And so this was a time when you were picking up your daughter from DIA, so Denver International Airport, one late afternoon. She came back from a long international trip. And so you said you made it to I-70, and guess what? It was another parking lot. And I kept trying to, like the Dickens, to keep my body and mind calm and relaxed all the while, and needed to be quote unquote on and quote unquote aggressive. Stuff the quote unquote aggressiveness. That's not ladylike. You're talking about how you got off on I got off on I-70 to get on Pena Boulevard, and for the first time in 33 years of going through the airport, the boulevard was a parking lot. Bumper to bumper cars. Once again, took close to 15 minutes to get off the entrance ramp. You said, I wanted to scream, genuinely scream at the thorough ineptness of our road system. Take us through what had happened afterwards.
Yes, I am not a person who likes to be late. And I knew I was going to be late. My daughter's totally cool about it. She's like, I got a book. But I was just frustrated. But the whole time I'm stuffing this anger, this frustration, and my daughter said, "I'll drive home." I'm like, "Good." I get home, there's a package for my husband for Christmas, and I go, "Good, he's not going to be able to see this." So I try to put it away, and I can't get it in the closet, and I just lose it. So my daughter's looking at me like going, "Oh, what did I do?" I said, "No." As soon as I was done losing the my emotions, and I said, "You know what? It was just because I basically didn't own up to my emotions. I was stuffing my emotions, bypassing," and I talk a lot about that. And that was probably why it took me so long to actually write the book, was I said, I still bypass. I still am doing this stuff where it says, I'm okay, that's okay, be a jerk, whatever. And then it just came out. Mm-hmm. And which is what happens when we bypass. And so I had to learn how to name it, maybe even sing a song about it, or instead of going, I'm okay, I'm fine, I can deal with this, even though I'm picking up my daughter late. And that was the biggest hurdle I had to go through before I felt I could write this book. And I write a little bit more about it on how to not bypass, because it isn't going to serve you.
On page 70, you talk about waking up from autopilot, and you talk a little bit of, and you write here, quote, "How do you observe your thoughts if 95% of the time we navigate through life on autopilot?" And you write, the crux of our mental tendencies, the helpful tendencies, the not helpful tendencies. Here's an example of waking up from autopilot. One day, as I was rolling out my yoga mat, I suddenly became aware of this yucky conversation between my husband and me in my head. It was full of me judging and blaming from over 2 years ago, something that we even had worked through. With that present moment awareness of the very old narrative, I then totally dropped the narrative. Silence. Nothing, just stillness. I just breathed in and out, observing this silence. I didn't move. I just observed this peace. I was peace. My next thought was, this is what the yogis and the mystics are saying about liberation, about freedom. Tie that in to what we can take away from being a much more conscientious and a much more composed, compassionate driver.
This really is an important piece. You picked out some really great ones, by the way.
I got a good way of doing that.
Yes. I just want to tell you that moment where I realized I caught that moment where it's like, this is done. What am I doing thinking about this again? And just stop thinking about it. And so that's, again, the crux of being more authentic and genuine, because that was autopilot. And that wasn't where I wasn't in the present moment. And again, that's one of the reasons why I decided to go on this journey, because I wanted to be more authentic and genuine and full-hearted instead of harsh, old patterns. And I gotta say, I think that's part of being human. And that's the other reason why I wanted to share my story, because this is a universal experience and we're all human beings and we're all gonna be doing these things. And so if I can have some self-deprecation and have some humor with it, that's my hope, that people will go, oh, okay,
I'm always, there's a part of me that's always a little bit apprehensive about making the wrong driver mad while I'm stewing. So I'm stewing because I either got cut off or something's going on, someone didn't use their blinker in the right manner. And so, but I think part of it, sometimes I'm very aware of my emotions, where I keep them in check, but almost out of fear, where if I make the wrong driver mad, what could it escalate to? And so can there be a difference between being a mindful driver or being a driver who is maybe is in fear of, I don't want to stir the hornet's nest if I let that other driver know I'm upset, that could escalate into something that I don't, could be something that could be a problem.
And so the question is again?
So is there a difference between, is there a difference between having compassion behind the wheel or versus responding out of fear because you don't want to poke the bear?
And that's so sad. Mm-hmm. That it's so sad that we even have to think like that. Mm-hmm. That there can be people out there, and there are people that are dead because mm-hmm. they mess with the wrong people.
Yeah.
And I think knowing that that's a fear. It's just, again, labeling it. Not going to do that because there's a fear that could be somebody who could potentially hurt me. And again, that's bringing mindfulness to the situation. Yeah. And I would have to say that where in your past could there have been a situation that it brings up? Because I was thinking as I'm going through this journey, I was hit with the fact that I'm always telling people that they're selfish. And so that was not how my mother wanted to raise me. I could not be selfish. We could not be selfish. And that was huge. And so here I am doing my own thing and my own projection on other people. And because I don't want to be selfish. So in regards to that, I would have to say, think about what that is, what that brings up. I don't know if anyone's ever not had a fear of somebody. So what does that, how would you want to move forward in that?
Welcome to Renew Laser and Skincare, where beauty meets technology. From laser hair removal and anti-aging treatments to facial sculpting, acne care, and injectables, our expert team helps you look and feel your best with customized, results-driven care. Located in Littleton, Colorado, we offer a comfortable, welcoming space and cutting-edge treatments tailored just for you. Visit renewlaserandskincare.com to book your transformation today. Renew Laser and Skincare, where confidence begins.
Hi, I'm Adriana, and welcome back to Fit Bites. Today, let's talk about eye health and easy ways to protect your vision as you age. Our eyes go through a lot every day, so keeping them healthy is key for long-term wellness. Now, first, focus on nutrition. So foods rich in vitamins A, C, and E, like carrots, leafy greens, and citrus fruits, support eye health and help prevent conditions like cataracts and macular degeneration. Omega-3s found in fish also help with dry eyes. When outdoors, wear sunglasses with 100% UV protection to shield your eyes from harmful sun exposure, which can damage your vision over time. If you spend a lot of time in front of screens, try the 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes, take a 20-second break to look at something 20 feet away. Now, this reduces eye strain and keeps your vision comfortable. And remember, regular eye exams are essential, even if you don't wear glasses. They help catch issues early and keep your prescription up to date. Protecting your eyes now keeps them healthy for the future. Stay proactive and care for your vision. Stay tuned for more Fit Bites with Adriana.
I love the fact that you have humor in your book and that you bring up a bunch of different scenarios that you've gone through. What is the one thing that you've heard as feedback from those who have read your book so far that they can appreciate what you've written?
Well, like I said, these editors would, for example, the red lights. So I'm speaking with my editor and she goes, "Oh, you know what? I have to tell you, I had to go to my baseball game, and I had all this hitting every single red light, and then I thought about what you said about red lights, and she says, and I got through, and I was so much more relaxed. Do you know what I said about red lights? I'll tell you. So, my therapist, I'm telling her about this story, and she said, well, what is your relationship to red lights? I said, I don't have a relationship to red lights, you know? And so then I didn't say that, right? But I'm like, well, I don't know, I'll think about it. So I started to think about, why don't I like red lights? Or why do, you know, if someone stops in front of me, you should have gone, you know? And it's because I can't be productive. It is solely because that's our culture, right? I have to sit there. But hey, wait a minute. This could be a mindful, kindful moment for me. So that's when I started looking for red lights or welcoming the red lights. And life was much better with red lights. I had a gal, I don't know exactly, actually it was a friend of mine who gave her book to a friend. And apparently this friend said to her, this book is helping me with my mom. And I was like, okay. So I'm not exactly sure what part of that was. My husband gave one to his hairdresser, and she said, you know, I thought about what Connie wrote in that book when I was really frustrated, so I just decided to relax and turn up the music and sing to the Eagles, an Eagles song. So everyone seems to get something out of it, which makes me feel so good.
And this is an easy read. I'm going through it, and I think that it's pretty incredible. And you write about here in chapter 9 about the red lights. But I love how you say in chapter 10 the beauty of a quieter mind. And you talked about, you say, imagine you send a text to someone and they didn't text back. You start to wonder, why are they quote unquote ignoring you? And your usual mental habit is to worry, get anxious about the way you may have come across. And then you catch that train of thought and you let it go. You stop the charge in your nervous system, take a breath, and simply send another text asking for a response in a neutral way. One small example to be sure, yet they multiply. All the times my mind now stays quiet, where it once was noisy feels so gratifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes people get afraid of that quiet mind because they're like, again, not being productive, but it's so productive because you get to be present. And you know, when you go from presence and move from presence, that's when you're off autopilot, right? And so instead of just going what your usual tendency may be, but there is such beauty in a quiet mind.
I think also it's a level of stress regulation that if we are so triggered, our cortisol levels on the physiological side, our cortisol levels are spiking. And if they stay too high, then it's going to throw our entire adrenal system off kilter. And I don't think there's enough, to me, it seems that we don't have enough conversations about how stress plays a bigger impact on our health. And we don't recognize it or maybe talk about it enough. But, you know, to be able to regulate and de-stress by quieting the mind, I think that's huge. And it seems so simple, yet so, you know, not as common, if you will.
Correct, because we're a society that charges up the nervous system, charge. And to be able to just naturally discharge through a breath or two, to go, okay, I'm going to discharge, which I do, and we repetitively do this in my yoga class. Like if we do especially a struggling kind of a hard pose, we get discharged and grounded before we do the other side. And so you get that, so that becomes more of your habit. Yeah, we're a charged society, and to discharge, and it's just a beautiful thing, even when you say it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite incredible, and I think that oftentimes behind the wheel, well, you and I had talked about, I shared with you a tactic I'll share with our viewers, that two things that I feel like are that would be helpful to remember. One that I've done before that someone had shared with me, and that is if you find that you're about to like gesture or give the finger to somebody, and you know, if they catch wind of what you're doing, you know, just immediately pretend that you're singing, like you were singing in the car, and just, you know, so that they don't, you know, if you have to like course correct like that, that'd be great. And then the second one hack that I don't do enough of when I'm like steaming behind the wheel is that listen to comedy.
Yes.
Like there's so many comedy stations on radio streaming, or at least that could be a quick find on the radio or, you know, satellite radio, that it could help to defuse the situation.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like to listen to healthy podcasts.
Yep.
Because I'm going to be enjoying it.
Yep.
Especially when you're doing long runs.
Very true. What are some things that you want the reader to, what is the goal for the reader who is curious about your book? What do you want them to know?
I want them to feel their humanity, because we all experience this. And so that was a big thing for me, and that means compassion. It's like, okay, I know I left late and I'm stressed because of it, and I'm not gonna be a jerk. Or you were a jerk and you go, oh yeah, that's it, okay, I was, and I don't want to do that anymore. That's the humanity part that I want people to feel. And again, that self-compassion. And when you can go, when I think about all the things that I see out there, and I could say I probably have done 90% of that, that's going to be compassion for other people. It really just comes down to being compassionate to oneself and to others, and that it can be very, very difficult.
So it's a decision. It's not necessarily like a feel-good feeling that just showers upon us per se.
Yeah.
But it can be, because that can be a challenge if we're not in the mood to be compassionate. If we're just stewing, then that could be.
Because life happens. Yeah. And again, a breath of just self-compassion, and you're going to do yourself, you're going to be more healthy. That's a lot of hours in a car to be not healthy. And so do yourself a favor and make a choice.
I once heard a quote, and I think I might get this wrong, but I think Jim Rohn said it, that the biggest impact we could have as a society is mindfulness, like space-wise, and just how our actions affect others. So if we were mindful of how we're putting that energy out there, if all of us did that, that would just monumentally change the type of relationships we have and the vibe we give off out there. What's your take on that?
Well, I thank you for bringing that up, because that was the other big thing about, and I use a boat analogy because I'm a really water person, but the wake we leave, we're gonna leave a wake. We're gonna leave something behind. How do we choose to do that? Like I had a friend whose brother decided he wanted to leave a really negative wake. So he said, I'm going to put a gun by my truck here. When people are mad, I'm going to... Well, that's not a wake I would want to leave. And that's probably not a person who's going to read that book either. But if you're a person who wants to leave a good wake, to leave behind something, you know, and of course we were human, we're going to not always give that wonderful wake, but that's just thinking about that, about why you would want to not do something that could leave a negative wake, which is how that book started.
the book Speeding to Compassion. What are the takeaways you want our viewing audience to have about your message?
That you can be healthier and you can have less stress, because we spend a lot of hours on there, on the road, but it's going to bleed into the rest of your life. And like I said, it got so many people that would say, this jewel, I took out jewel. And that's if a person took one jewel out of that, it could change their life. And people are talking about that. And yeah.
And I know you mentioned, you talked about, what is the reference to the Dalai Lama?
Okay. Because we were talking about what are some really good hits.
Yes.
And the Dalai Lama was asked, he was coming out of a car, there was commotion all over the place because everyone was excited. And this lady goes, how do you stay so calm? And he said, I leave early for my events. He just leaves early. So if nothing else, do a Dalai Lama. Leave early so you don't have to stress. Bring a book with you. If you arrive early, then you can finish your book or enjoy your book.
Yes, I need to take a page from that, because oftentimes I could be better at the arrival thing, as much as my husband will definitely say. What is your goal for the book? So it's been out for about a year, and what would you like to see happen with your book?
When I originally published it, I thought, okay, that's it. I had the courage to do it. I sat there, I did it. This is all I need. I did it, it's out. And I just had so many people, like I have a client who's a librarian, and she's in her late 70s, and she was so excited. She came in and she goes, oh my God, Connie, I can't tell you how much I'm like this book. And she reads something and she tells me, and I'm almost backing up with all the things she loved about the book, like you did it. And I said, I'm gonna hold my ground and just take it in. And then that's when I said, you know what, I can't just be okay with that. Yeah, it did give me confidence. There's a lot of things that happen with writing. So my book, I want to get it out there because so many people have had such great takeaways.
And what kind of mark do you wish to leave in the world?
What kind of wake do I want to leave?
What kind of wake?
Yes. And that is, choose mindful kindfulness. More and more if you can, just practice it a little bit before. My granddaughter, I'm so glad they're teaching little kids now how to deal with stress. And in fact, they were playing school, my grandkids, and downstairs, and I came down there, and the teacher, which is my oldest granddaughter, said, okay, we're taking a mindful moment now. Serious. And so they're teaching that. But you've got to do it before you're in a tough situation, so you can pull up that body memory, the breath.
The book before I say one more blurb about the book, where can we find you in the social media world? Where are you in the virtual space?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and that's enough for me.
You don't want to be on all of them?
Oh my goodness.
No TikTok?
Yeah.
Which is okay. There's enough out there to pick and choose which ones you align with.
Yeah.
So the book is called Speeding to Compassion. Connie Warden, amazing. Obviously you have that bubbly personality, and we certainly appreciate you sharing your insights and your reflections and your message to the world. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're so welcome. And on my website, there'll be some things about mindfulness that you could download. That'd be a great place to start. So, ConnieWarden.com.